Everyone, welcome to Indie Insights. I'm here with Brandon Starocci. Brandon, how you doing?
Good. How are you today?
I'm great. Have a busy kind of end of the summer. Just got back from vacation and getting my head wrapped around things, but I'm doing well. And I could say you've been pretty busy, kind of gearing up for this next campaign, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, same kind of deal. You got work, you got life, and then on top of it, we're really kind of planning for us and doing some new things with this campaign coming up here in September too.
Yeah. It's like I wish I could be a full-time comic creator. It would be nice. I think it's like having like a second full-time job on top of like regular work. So it's always like when you're in that creation mode, it's a lot.
Oh yeah, 100%. It really ends up finding its way to add a little bit more stress to everything, but you do it because you love it, and that's the only reason why we kind of stick around doing all this stuff.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. All right, so we'll get right into it. So I've had a chance to go read through. So we talked a while back, at least a year ago.
Had to have been, yeah.
Yeah, about a year ago, because I was gearing up for my first campaign around then. That was a little bit over a year ago. So I had a chance to go through issues 5. But for someone who hasn't read Avalon, what's the elevator pitch for somebody who hasn't read the book?
Yeah, of course. So Avalon is a post-apocalyptic zombie story that follows the whole Castle family. We decided to do a little bit different narrative and kind of steering away from the hero's journey. We follow the whole family as the main protagonist. In Avalon, zombies are almost a little bit secondary. We focus on things like mental health and physical health amongst every character that we kind of showcase as well. But again, you're going to be really following this family. More so than actually learning about the zombies. That'll come, but that's basically the center focus of this story.
Yeah, no, so that's interesting. So focusing on mental health, comics it's a tricky medium because you only have so many words and it's all visual, right? You're not really, unless you're doing a lot of thought bubbles, you're not really dealing with interior or internal monologues. You're not really dealing with what's going on from the character's perspective more than what you'll see visually. So how do you face a topic that's pretty complicated, like mental health, in a visual medium? How do you do that and kind of do it justice?
Having a good team around you, first and foremost, and second really is just seeing people. I have family members. I have some anxieties in my own life, just with my own stresses and stuff. And I see people outside of me, family members as well, friends that kind of deal with their own kind of anxieties and mental health issues. And again, the physical health problem as well. That kind of goes hand in hand with some different family members. But kind of watching people, I like to kind of showcase or tell people that I'm kind of like a sponge. I like to watch, observe, and take things in, and just kind of relating to a lot of different things as well, and then kind of putting it into a comic fashion is just doing it because this question up or this part up a lot in a lot of interviews. I've always asked myself how I would survive in a zombie apocalypse. So then I kind of stem that from just knowing people that have to deal with those kind of things as well, and then giving the people something to read that in case, like, with Mason per se, like, has anxiety, and there are going to be some characters, in the later issues here that you might have physical health issues and physical setbacks as well that people can relate to. So it allows anybody to pick this comic book up and just be like, okay, I can relate to this character.
Interesting. So now, I guess question, and obviously we get a lot of times, especially with zombie movies, we get that with vampires, that they're kind of some allegory for something going on in our actual society. Do you use the zombies as an allegory for mental health or dealing or facing mental health issues? Like, do they represent some kind of a challenge that you then utilize your story to tell?
Yeah, sure. So with that alone, definitely, I think you hit the nail right on the head with that statement there. And also just regular daily things that people deal with, again, on a day-to-day basis. So a lot of what we did with our family here, the Castle family, that the readers are following right now, is really dig down and dig deep into this family's past and their issues that they had before this apocalypse kind of even just transpired. So and that's going to be a lot of the things to kind of unfold as seasons and issues kind of come in the future here too, because right now there's just a lot of chaos. There's just a lot of riots, unknown things going on. You got zombies running around eating people. So once you get a minute to, these characters kind of give a minute to sit down, you'll see the other aspect of things, like you said, like the zombies are kind of portraying that mental health thing, and then all just normal day life stuff will kind of come up in later time.
Nice. So obviously the zombie genre is pretty crowded. I know we talked about this a little bit when we talked last year, but how do how does Avalon differentiate itself from other kind of post-apocalyptic stories, as far as like the narratives and the themes that you try to work with?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, we don't choose a specific hero's journey. I know things have done that in the past as well, but really allowing each character to feel like they could be their own main character to anybody reading the comic. We really tell in a diverse way where each character has a lot of depth, where they could feel as if they are a main character. There's a lot going on, and the way we're telling it as well, the screen time per character. Not one character has way more screen time than another one at this moment, and that's the kind of the idea of writing further with the Avalon as well. Another thing being is just the rawness of the characters, the rawness of the world, the realism that we try to bring into this and articulate into this world as much as possible. And the last as well, the one thing that we really harp on with Avalon is really keeping the mental health and the physical health things in the story, not really just showing it real quick and then slowly having it fade away. Like one of the characters has to deal with asthma. This is the easiest one to kind of explain. So he deals with asthma. So this isn't going to be something where you see him take an inhaler, a puff of an inhaler once or twice, and then you'll never kind of see it again. This will be an ongoing deal with this character and kind of trying to overcome this and dealing with it and with the end of the world. And when he runs out, what happens? So a lot of those things are going to actually be interweaved with the storyline rather than just kind of show when we think it's necessary and then kind of disappear.
All right, so to tell a little bit of sidebar. So, so you said kind of part of this is how you would survive the zombie apocalypse. Mm-hmm. So, what would be your 5 tips for surviving the zombie apocalypse?
Oh, geez. Now at this point, I feel like I'm so invested in the characters. I'm thinking the way they are. Basically, it's funny because I think about it on a day-to-day basis here and there. But right now, I'm on the mindset, and it's probably wrong. It's probably wrong. But going into some hunkering down, going into a school, with a generator, and then kind of just, a high school that has like high points, and then blocking it off, and then again, just trying to get as much weapons, food, and shelter as you can get, and keep family around. People are numbers. People are, keep you around.
So you mentioned something, and that I've noticed it is an interesting aspect of the comic is that it does shift focus. So it's like you'll have one issue that's focused on one character, the other other issues that are going to be focused on more of the family, and you've got them kind of coming together, as we get towards issue 6. But I guess this question I had for a little bit later, but since you brought this up, I'm curious as how you manage it because I'm facing kind of a similar issue. So the releases right now, it's not like a typical you're not doing monthly releases. Right, mm-hmm. You're doing it every quarterly or every 6 months?
So would you say? Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's just when we're getting it done, But yeah, I'll answer. I don't know if there's more to the question or not.
Yeah. So I guess the question is, with so much story to tell, how do you keep yourself engaged? Only being able to share a little bit at a time, in that you're only and like I said, I'm facing kind of the same thing. Is that you have this big story to tell, but whether it's obviously with comics, it's expensive and timing. Oh, yeah. It's hard to, it's not like you're releasing monthly where every month you got another bit of that story. So for, a big thing happens in issue 5 that I'd love to know the answer to that I would have wanted to know way back in issue 2, right? So how do you keep yourself engaged and keep people motivated to want to know what's going on, knowing that the releases do there is some distance in between releases?
I think you just asked the question of the century for all the independent creators right now. And I think, I guess to answer it in one way, because I do put a lot of thought into that right now, especially. The unfortunate thing right now is we're just trying to get this first season, I call them seasons, this first volume out at ASAP, and that being 1 through 6. So 6 will be the finale of season 1. Our goal is to so now we want to get the trade paperback out. Now we can almost reach a whole new audience because there's a lot of people out there who just read trade paperbacks. They don't really get the the individual copies, all that good stuff that comes with that. They want to kind of read it all at once. They want it all in a book in that fashion. So our first goal is to kind of get that out. And I've told people in the past, so when that first volume is out, we're going to take just a minor step back, kind of look at what we got, have Demetrius kind of catch up in the art. really kind of grind out that art. I know, we've been putting him through a lot, and he's been doing an amazing job in the time frames that he's been given. But really taking a step back and pausing and really completing things and sitting back and going, okay, let's start release. I want to release in March and October, just for 2 random months right now. Let's just, March and October. Demetrius, do you think you can get 2 issues done in that time frame of the year? So it's really kind of getting ahead so people can anticipate, okay, I know Avalon comes out every time at this time in March. I know Avalon comes out in October. So, or, if that's just it. So that's like the plan that we're trying to figure out after we get this whole volume out, because again, that's like a whole new market. That's a whole new bunch of people that, can read it and get their hands on it and really start pushing it and getting people excited for it. Because then the fan theories kind of come out, and then you start, entertaining those theories as well. Because with Avalon too, we try to do a lot of little Easter eggs so people could talk about it and kind of keep the chatter going with it, I guess. But
So issue 6 then becomes kind of like it ties up this arc, at least for enough for a trade paperback.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Nice. So what do you? So I guess how do you? So I know you have a co-writer, and I was going to ask some questions about that. But so to ask you, is Bill Dalton, has he been your co-writer on this throughout, or has he been a more recent addition to your team?
Very recent, a good long buddy of mine. I've known him for years. Big fan of just, entertainment, creating and writing and script writing and all of that. I've had Alan Dingfelder from issues 1 through 6. Him and I kind of, again, another long friend of mine that, into the same kind of deals as, all of us here. We kind of grinded out that issues 1 through 6. Bill Dalton's going to be helping me with a lot of season 2's aspect and so on if he wants to kind of stick around, which would be great. But again, he's been really with season 2 here. And again, he just having him a part of it, it adds a whole new layer to it. It gives me a whole new fresh mind. It's always nice for me personally to have an extra, person there with you and kind of just banter with and kind of figure things out together. But yeah.
So what's the process when you're working with another writer? Like what does that look like? Do you get on, do you have kind of creative calls? Do you just write stuff and read each other's work? Like, how do you deal with that process of creating when it's your brainchild, but you've got other people, other cooks in the kitchen, so to speak?
Sure. So basically what we've been doing right now is just like the creative calls, like you said, that you kind of coming together, going through a document together, listing out, because I have a general scope of how I see this story, and I've kind of told them this as well. And at first I'll kind of give them a very basic, okay, this is where the story's going. Then I'll break it down by season and so on as well. And we're on season 2 right now. So he has a good understanding of the scope of it. Now, all the little minor details and all the little things that kind of come with it as well. And the arcs, the smaller arcs and all those little fine details. That's what we brainstorm together. That's what we're chatting on. We have our white piece of paper up and we're kind of just chatting as we go along. So it's been a good process for me and Bill and I as well for this season.
So now, have you ever had with any of your writing partners any kind of knockdown, drag out fights over I want to do this and the other person doesn't, and like have you had those big argument over something where you kind of stuck to your guns and just fought it out?
So no big argument, but we've had a thing where I was like, no, it has to be like this. I definitely had it like that, and it's funny because there's also things as well for the panel layouts or specific scene that even with Demetrius as well as. I'm like, if there's something that I can't, I'm like, no, it has to be like this. Or doing it like that. But, the best part about Demetrius and working with him over the years is 99% of the time he brings something up to me. We're rolling with it. I feel like we're like parallel with each other and the story. At this point as well, he loves this story. He loves this project. He puts his heart and soul into this. So I just feel like we're very, speaking of me and Demetrius here, I think we're damn near a parallel here and trying to figure out what we want in this story and the goal and that we kind of see eye to eye.
So now, speaking of your artists, and that's also always an interesting thing about comics is like the relationship between the artist and the writer. And so, do you tend to, when you're writing your scripts or collaborating with your artist, do you tend to say, be very specific in what you want him to do, whether it's panel layouts or specific panels, what you want, or do you generally like leave it to him to figure those kinds of things out?
So story-wise, it depending on what it is exactly, I guess. But most of the time, story-wise, we're pretty much like, okay, it has to be, if it has something specific to the story, the scene, the specific scene per se, it has to kind of articulate that a bit. A lot of the panel layouts now, he's kind of just taken under his wing here. He just kind of surprises me each time. I have very general descriptions of the panel layouts now and what I want, and again, just kind of more so for the story, the direction, specific scenes per se. But he's kind of developed a knack for just really killing these panel layouts and stuff like that. So he again, like I said, he's finding new ways to improve and just surprise me each and every way. But if there is something story specific, it's got to be that way, and I'll articulate that to him before we even kind of start with the the whole art process. But yeah,
you can tell, like you can see his evolution through each issue. Like each issue, you can see, he's always been good, but like how the panels get more dynamic and the art's more, there's better contrast. And I think also for like, because you do mostly black and white with just red, and I noticed definitely towards the latter issues that he's doing a much better job with like the values and really making that, like the black and white looks really interesting. Like there's really great contrast, and again the panels look really good. So I think it's like you can tell his own evolution as an artist as over the course of these first 5 issues.
Oh, 100%. And that's, how do you find the best way of saying that he gets better and better as time goes on? I don't want to take away anything he's done in the past because it's always great. I say it all the time, but each issue, like even with this issue coming up here, when he's sending me the pencils and the layouts, and I'm just like, you just find new ways of just surprising me and just getting better and better and better each time it goes on. And again, not to take away from anything in the past, but it's just constant. He's just amazing.
Exactly. Like it's not never been bad or amateur. But you can see it's more dynamic.
Right. Perfect
and
word
like
for it.
Evolution, right? Like that's I think where it's gone. Which also I think works, because I think the first few issues it's a little bit more story. Not that it's not as much story now, but I think the first few issues you're trying to lay the groundwork. So I think it needs to be a little bit more subdued, and you need to kind of be there to learn what's going on. And now that and then now that things are really rolling and it's more action, you see him like kind of showcasing his chops.
100%. And I think that actually speaks because I'm a very I like things to be consistent, and it's funny because you could just tell like with issue 1 how strict I was with issue 1, because again this is my baby project, and when we first met, and I was kind of telling him everything I wanted to do, and I was I don't want to use the word micromanage because that's obviously a negative term, but like I'm just like, hey, no, it needs to almost be like this.
Yeah.
I've gotten way more lenient. The trust builds between the two of us, and then he kind of showcases his art, and he just gets, he does all these cool things, and just keeps, pushing them out there, and then I am like, okay, yeah, it's all yours, dude. You're doing an amazing job. Love what you're doing. We're on that same page, and let's just keep grinding these out.
Yeah. So now, do you have like personally, like, do you have an end game for this series? Like, do you know how many issues you want to put out, how many series you want? Do you have goals beyond comics? Like, what's your do you have any thoughts on where you want to go, or are you still in a position of like, I'm loving this, the story's great, let's keep going with it?
Yeah, of course. So Avalon is going to keep going until we basically run out of ideas and the meat of the potatoes of it. I have a general understanding of how I want this to end. Do I have a number of issues? No, but I have a good understanding of like the arcs and the plots and and the seasons, and then how I kind of want this to end. And speaking of where I want to be, my whole dream was to be just, a director. That was the first initial dream, was just be a movie director, making, big picture feature films. And then I slowly started to gain love for the writing aspect of things. So, having the writing kind of a part of this whole deal, writing feature films, even short films as well, doing all that stuff, but just getting into cinema. That would be my ultimate goal. To stay in the the comic world would definitely be a goal of mine as well. I would love to. I already actually have a bunch of different ideas that I'm working on slowly. They're getting there, but the main goal is Avalon at this point too. But there are a couple other comic projects that I'm working on as well. I just I love the creating thing and just kind of pushing things out there and making things new.
So how do you do that? So how do you manage? Because just the creation of a comic, a single issue, takes so much work, from the marketing and the crowdfunding and the writing and everything. How do you manage other projects with such a big lift that you're dealing with right now?
I think I don't know exactly, getting into the personal kind of understanding of the characters that I'm writing, because that's totally invested into the characters of Avalon. When I'm making these other projects that I'm working on and kind of getting to the beginning process and kind of bullet pointing things, how I want this story to kind of pan out and all that. There's no real like emotional connection to it just yet, because there's no. I guess I have characters, and all that, but then you are obviously making different characters as well. There are two characters that there is an emotional connection with as well, that I'm working on, like a feature film as well with another person. And again, you're just creating new characters like you would in Avalon, I guess, just in a different world, different setting. So it's just depending on where I'm at, I guess, because when it's the beginning stages, there's no real emotional connection to it just yet. It's just really just trying to figure things out. And then once the characters start coming to life as time goes on, it just, I don't know, it just comes to life like you would meet a new person and kind of meet a new friend and then become more and more friends with them. But yeah, so that's the only way I can sort of answer your question. I don't know.
No, that's fair. So now let's shift gears a little bit to Kickstarter. So this is your 6th campaign on Kickstarter, and having been through it once and kind of preparing for the next, it's a lot. What would you, after 6, like, what would you say? What have you learned, and what advice would you give yourself on the first campaign?
Oh, geez. It's crazy because I feel like you got to do it new every time you do it. So each campaign, I'm just still trying to try new things and do new things and add new rewards and see what people kind of like generate towards as well. Really, it's just ultimately finding the base and devoting time into the story itself and articulating the story and selling the story to new people kind of strolling by. And obviously, again, the artwork, it goes a long way, kind of showcasing the artwork as much as you can without giving away the whole story, because you obviously want people to come in and read it and enjoy it, and invest in it as well. But it's been a new process each time I've done it, because I feel like if you do it all the same way, it's just going to stay stagnant and you're just going to kind of whatever, it'll blow over. But it's just really trying new things each and every time you come up with a new Kickstarter.
What advice would you give to somebody who's looking to start their first Kickstarter? What advice would you give to them on getting running a crowdfunding campaign and being successful? Just specifically for comics.
Yeah, I guess first and foremost, I would say do a lot of research, and by that meaning, just kind of look at other people's campaigns, kind of see what they're doing, see what they're telling, what they're giving, how much they're giving. If you don't, if you're not sure exactly how to articulate what you're selling and not give too much away as well, or not give too little away, and just really kind of, again, showcase your art, showcase your stuff. Think of some cool rewards that you would like as an individual. There's a bunch of things that I've done in the last couple of Kickstarters. Like these rewards that we offer here are a lot of things that I enjoy just having from other companies as well. I'm like, okay, cool posters, stickers, pins. I would love to do like Funkos and action figures and stuff like that as well, but that's not really possible. And really showcasing your art and selling it to people, and then scheduling is important too. With the interviews, like we're today here, it's really admiring your time and scheduling properly, because there's times in the past where I just really stressed myself out when I didn't need to, and I could have just actually took my time and scheduled.
Speaking of rewards, I think my first campaign, one of the not mistakes, but one thing I did is I had some really interesting 3D printed rewards, because I have a 3D printer. And what's interesting is that they weren't as popular as I would have expected. Although I did give out a free little mini 3D printed cover that people loved. Yeah, so I've got to find a way to promote that better, because people really enjoy that. And then actually there's a new printer I have that I'm really excited about, because you can do full color. So I'm going to be doing full color covers that are kind of 3D printed. So I'm super excited to play with that, because I found that that was the rewards that people liked, but it was as a bonus. But I had to figure out how to make sure people see, hey, this is really cool. People really liked it, Yeah. But it's interesting.
It definitely is, because again, like, and not to say, well, I hope it doesn't, but like, one thing that works in one campaign might not work in another one,
exactly.
so that's the crappy thing with that too, is just like, again, it's a new experience each and every time. You want to really generate the people to kind of see, like you said, like really just, if you like that product that you're given, generate your focus into that. Like, look at this, look at this, look at this. Not a lot of people might, but there's some who will, and then that's kind of the generation there. And then I had something else to say, and it just completely went out of my head.
No, that's fine. So I guess speaking of, so one of the bigger things also when it comes to crowdfunding is like you need an audience to kind of get going. So how would you, what would you recommend as far as marketing and promoting yourself to get people to go to your Kickstarter and back your campaign? Obviously, you're doing part of that right now. But yeah, like what do you do?
Doing the interviews, just like you mentioned, too. Doing the interviews, networking with others. Speaking for myself, I have a couple other projects: Path of the Pale Rider and Ray's Comics as well. We kind of do like a trio deal. We're all zombie comics. We all love zombies. We've all known each other for years at this point. Networking in that way, kind of helping each other out, sharing stuff, liking stuff, just getting to know people in the industry, talking to them, listening to them, hearing their advice, and just, again, being a sponge in every category with that too. So it's just, there's so much to do. It's a very busy field. So it's just kind of just being out there, talking to people and just taking in advice, and then always being on social media, being there, being active with events as well, I think is very important, kind of just showcasing that, look, we are here, we are doing things, we are on the up and up. So kind of showcasing that, not just kind of hiding around. You gotta be there. You gotta be present. People gotta see you constantly, because I forget things very easily. Somebody could tell me something 10 minutes ago and I forget, or I'll see something 10 minutes ago on Facebook and I'll completely forget. You just got to constantly be there and remind every individual like 4 or 5 times before they even make one click. So that's kind of thing. The negative term would be just be annoying. You just got to be annoying, unfortunately, but it's not annoying, because people won't remember every single time they see it anyway. So
yeah, no, I think that's a fair point. And I think, it's like, you never know who's watching what or who's going to find you, and
or when.
If you don't put,
when they're doing it, all of it.
Exactly.
It's constantly being busy. It's constantly just showing face. At this point, you're just as big as a market as your title too. Exactly, so it's just like, you can't just keep throwing. In my case, I can't keep just throwing Avalon. You gotta throw my name out there too. Like, my name needs to be tagged along with Avalon. Same with Demetrius. Demetrius's name needs to be tagged with that. We're all need to promote ourselves as much as the product itself as well. So it's just constantly just always out there.
Yeah, that's the like second full-time job basically. Is like promoting
the full-time job.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot, but yeah, like it pays off, in the long run, I think. But at the end of the day, just having it out there, it's like when I saw the book for the first time, I was like, that would have been that's
beautiful.
Enough. Everything else is like a cherry on top.
100%.
Yeah. So what let me see. Oh, I had a question here. Okay, so I have noticed on social media that you've been doing a lot of conventions. So what advice would you give to indie creators? Specifically, actually, selfishly, what advice you give for a writer who I'm a colorist, so I can promote that a little bit as far as like doing that. But like what advice you give to a writer on how to how to manage conventions?
Yeah, it seems to be a different process again each and every time. The most success that I've found is not when I say smaller, I don't mean small, but like the smaller ones where they're not having where the conventions aren't having like 40 big time celebrities there. Especially in today's day and age, I find when people just want to go to these conventions, they want to go get their autographs from the big time celebrities and X, Y, and Z. So it's a little bit harder for creators in general, the indie creators, to kind of market their book and go, hey, look at me too. Even if it's a smaller, I don't sell them for too much, the $5 an issue. So it's just $5 an issue at our table, but it's really trying to find the cons that don't have 40 different celebrities that that are expensive, so people are more willing to kind of come there, hear you out, listen to your pitch, because 90% of the time, if somebody hears your pitch full on and they're actually giving you your full attention and they have $5 to spend, they're going to buy an issue. You know what I mean? So it's really just like finding those conventions that work for you. A lot of horror fests work for us, obviously, because for zombie comics. So we try to generate a little bit towards more of that as well. But again, sticking tried and true to the comic events itself too. I like just going to events, period, talking to people, hearing people's stories. I always find myself talking to a bunch of different individuals and having them tell me their kind of what they want to do, a comic or something they've been working on. It's always a great time, and hearing their stories, hearing their kind of journey as well. I always admire that. But just meeting people, giving people your business cards, just having a genuine, the best part for me. I don't really, selling it is cool. Having people buy it and have it in their hands and read it is awesome. But it's really the conversations and kind of getting and network again. The word networking and networking with others, and that's a fun part for me.
So what strategies do you use like to stand out, as far as having your table stand out versus others?
So it's hard to say too. It's funny because I bought what do you call that? The crossing guard vest with the neon crossing guard vest this time, which was kind of funny. I was actually, that was the last time when I was in Boston with the creators of Ray, Sam, and Trey as well, and it was kind of a funny ongoing. Active, it's standing up. It's being a salesman. As much as I don't personally like being a whole, the salesman that you kind of see, but it's really just talking to people, just again selling your product. Let people know what it is. You kind of giving them their pitch, having a conversation with them, standing up, saying hi, and just stuff like that. So that's always kind of worked with me. I haven't had to really bombard people. I don't want to. That's not always fun for me to do even, or be on the other side of it as well. So it's kind of just being genuine, kind of let people kind of stroll by and then kind of saying hi and kind of pitching the book we got here. But yeah.
Now, do you do anything creative, like, outside of like, I know a lot for artists, like they're able to kind of draw things at the table. Is there any creative ideas for writers that you can offer in the moment or offer to people or fans, or is that just kind of challenging as a writer? It doesn't look as good as somebody who can sit there and put pen to paper.
I don't think it looks as good, but I also, and with my situation right now, it's kind of hard. You get it sucks because you get the day job, you got all, family stuff going on right now too. Yeah. But there was a time a year or so ago, I was in a screenwriting group, and we were kind of like do little short stories, and didn't get too far in that. It was a local one, so it kind of like slowly faded away, and they stopped doing it, which is unfortunate. Yeah. It was always cool, being in a room with 10 people, and everybody has their own kind of backstory and their own stories they want to write, and it helps. It's like an exercise, just like you would go out and work out. It's working out that skill of just creativity and writing small stories, and just getting together with other writers was a cool deal. So I guess to that thought alone, if you have small local screenwriting things or for anything for that matter, short story deals in general, it's just helping that creative kind of mind work out and get things going there. It could be fun because then you can get into the acting part. Not that anybody can be a good actor, but then you still could act out the stuff you wrote. But yeah,
that's fair. I had done a short story competition and ended up just doing voice acting like the story because it was just kind of this is fun. It's a short, like a flash fiction thing. Yeah, so it's kind of fun. Like
it's a good time.
It's like a skill maybe that I don't think I'll be doing voice acting anytime soon, but like
it's fun.
Kind of fun to do it. Yeah, and then it actually turned into like a short comic that I ended up just like finding an artist, like, hey, do this, and so they kind of that's
awesome. Worked out. That's an awesome story, then. Yeah, I like that.
That's kind of, it's interesting. I found that I've been doing a lot of like while in the midst of the larger story is putting out shorts for anthologies, and I found that that's been a fun little thing. Is like it's a challenge writing like you have 3 pages, write a story, or 5 pages, and how do you tell a fulfilling story in that little time?
And
without so it's an interesting challenge, but I found it's going to help with my own writing, building my own writing chops, especially for comics.
100%, and I would agree with you 100%. Like I said, the unfortunate thing is I haven't been doing that in a little while now, but when I was doing it, I just felt like you had a blast doing it. You're doing what you love, and then it gives you that exercise. And I felt when I would kind of get into the writing aspect of Avalon and other things as well, it just felt like it flowed a little bit better. Everything seemed to kind of make a little bit more sense when you're looking at the whole grand scheme of things. It seemed like everything was nicer, everything moved quicker. But yeah.
So how do you, as far as a writer, like, do you find, do you schedule time to write? Do you write when, like, the time when you have a chance? Like, what do you find works for you, in your own writing?
Both of those things that you mentioned, I really
Yeah.
like to schedule it as much as I can, but unfortunately, not all the time that works. I've told my wife as well as like I do the Joe Rogan thing because I've heard this on one of his podcasts before, where he said even his wife and family knows as soon as no matter any point during the day, as soon as he has a joke come into his head, he has to leave the area and go write it down. And even if it's in the middle of the dinner or whatever it is, and I tried to slowly incorporate that into my family's life and tell my wife that, and I was like, whenever I have an idea, I gotta go. I gotta go quick, write this down, and I'll be back in like 2 minutes. Just let me go do this
Yeah.
real fast. But like I was kind of mentioning though too, was incorporating that into our family's life. And when I have an idea, I have to quick go write it down. Sometimes it turns into a longer deal, and I apologize in advance, but it just sometimes that's the way it works. A lot of things come up random when you're thinking of things. A 9 to 5 job, they just kind of come as it comes. And same, I'll speak even to it. I think this is just kind of a little funny thing. When Demetrius and I actually spend time on like Discord, because most times we just kind of chat over social media on what we want and all that stuff too. But we'll schedule like Discord meetings, and I'll tell my wife, okay, yeah, I'm only chatting with Demetrius for like 45 minutes, whatever, and it'll turn into like 2.5 hours, and I'll be getting yelled at after a little bit. But it's always like a process. It just seems to be that way.
Yeah, no, that's true. No, quick, totally off topic, but just curious, like as as a creator, how it's affected you, or if you use it. But have you worked with AI, or you kind of, what's your stance on AI kind of in this world? Because I think it's there's a lot of controversy with people, whether it's AI art or using GPT to write and things like that. But have you where's your stance, or how do you feel about it?
Yeah, no, I don't. I know there's definitely a weird stance with it. With all of Avalon and anything we do with that, it definitely staying away from AI. I don't want any bad, not to take anything away from people who do it, whatever. I don't care either way, in my opinion. Sorry, whoever, whatever, but we just stay away from it. We stay away from it. I love the stuff that Demetrius is doing. I love the stuff that the writing room is doing. I don't want any AI or any, I don't think we need it. I don't want it.
Yeah.
And again, I'm a big believer in kind of just keeping the jobs, with all of us as well. So I guess there's my stance a little bit towards the artist rather than staying away from AI as well. But just do it. That's what creativity is. Everybody thoughts, everybody has different things, different skills, different mindsets. So just, that's why do you need AI when you got all that stuff? So just think a little bit and have fun with it.
Yeah, no, and that's kind of the unfortunate thing, is I think if we're finding it like infiltrating a lot of different things. I saw earlier today somebody posted like art that was like, I'm an artist, and it's like, no, that's not, like you can tell what AI art is.
No, you can definitely pick it out. It's not very difficult, but no. I mean, I guess there is some stuff that is kind of difficult as well, but for the most part, you could check out AI. But
for now, I think what's scary is when you can't, and it's like at this point, like. It's like, it's like we're in a field where like, just pay the artists, let them do their work, be creative. Yeah. I think that's the whole thing, right? It's like
100%, and I believe in that, and that's what I'm saying. Like, but I understand why it upsets people. I'm not going to get too upset about it, but I can get why it does. I'm not bashing anybody in any category here, but we just stay away from it. We stay away from it personally, but yeah.
And I find like I don't use the AI art. I've used it to play with, but and once I actually did, there was one time where I did say, hey, I was trying to figure out something for my artist to do. And I was like, hey, can you do something like this? Like, but that's the extent that I would use it for anything create. Like, as far as it's like, it's a tool, and I sometimes will use it for things outside of like writing. But if I'm going to write, it's like, it's my story, and I don't want that to be influenced by.
Yeah. So and
yeah, exactly.
I got all this stuff, all these ideas, all this crazy stuff going on, anyways. And then, like I said, we got a team around us, anyways. So we got a bunch of different dynamics going on. We don't need to add a robot into it, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Seriously, yeah. As long as we can avoid it, because I think it's coming, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Bad, but but yeah. For now, I think there's a whole controversy I know with Kaepernick at San Diego Comic-Con, where apparently he is starting a company that's using AI to draw so that it democratizes like the process of creating comics. Which it's like, in some ways I understand because of the expense involved, but like find a better way, because because like at the end of the day, there's so much controversy around how the art's sourced, and then artists are then not making their money. So there's a lot there. It's obviously like a whole big can of worms.
100%. It definitely is. It's its own discussion, I feel, and it's a big one, so. Yeah. Again, like I understand it. I get why it upsets people. It definitely, it was upsetting to hear the whole, the whole writer strike thing too, and that's what's scary though too, when they're doing, what was that one movie that just came out a year or so ago about the whole AI written movie and all that stuff too. Yeah. So it's just stuff like that's scary. I get that.
It is scary. Yeah, absolutely. Because there is a point, like it's not very good creative writing, but there will be a point where it is, and then what happens, right?
Yeah, 100%. Then what? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to be, then it's like you need to put those safeguards in now.
100%.
You can't fix that. So, okay, so tell us, so where can people find, so I guess tell me, when is the campaign for Avalon coming out, and where can people find you, social media, any other information you'd want to give to our listeners?
Yeah, you could find, the Kickstarter will be coming out September 6th. Not exactly sure on the time yet, but probably around 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. We'll be launching it then. You can find us on any social media platform. If you simply look up Avalon Comic, you'll basically find the account. It's with a bloody A. You'll be able to see it. And if you find one of them, you could find us all. Especially avaloncomic.com. That's probably the easiest way to find us. And all of our social medias are tagged onto our website as well. We have an about page. We have a creative page. We have an into the art, into the canvas kind of page, kind of showcasing Demetrius's art style. We have events on our website as well, and again, we're on all social media platforms, so we're pretty up to date with what we got going on. We try to update people as much and as frequent as possible. So just follow us on, really any of the social media platforms, and you'll be up to date on anything.
It's awesome. Well, Brandon, thanks so much for being on the show. Good luck with the campaign. I will definitely promote it and push it.
Awesome.
And look forward to talking to you soon.
I appreciate you. Thank you for the time, and thank you for having me back on.